Hey everyone, welcome to the Stuff You Should Think About. I'm your host, G, and today we're diving into the murky, seductive, and ultimately devastating world of financial fraud. If you spend any time reading the news, you've likely heard the term Ponzi scheme thrown around. It's usually attached to headlines about disgraced financiers or shattered retirement dreams. But what actually is a Ponzi scheme, and how do they work? And more importantly, how do they manage to fool so many people for so long? Grab a coffee, settle in, and let's pull back the curtain on the ultimate shell game. The origin story. The term is named after Charles Ponzi, a con artist who in 1920 promised investors a 50% return on their money in just 90 days. He claimed he was exploiting discrepancies in the international postal reply coupons. In reality, he was just taking money from new investors to pay off the older ones. He wasn't trading anything, he was just recycling cash. When the music stopped, thousands of people lost their life savings. How the trick works. At its core, a Ponzi scheme is incredibly simple, which is exactly why it's so effective. It operates on three main pillars. First one being the promise of high returns. Fraudsters promise consistent high yield returns with little to no risk. In the investment world, high returns always come with high risk. If someone promises you guaranteed double-digit gains, that's your first red flag. Next one would be the expert persona. Ponzi schemers often insult themselves with an aura of exclusivity. They make you feel like you've been invited into a secret club. They talk in jargon, boast about proprietary strategies, and often use their reputation or social standing to build blind trust. The last one is the illusion of profit. This is the magic trick. When an early investor asks for their money back, the fraudster pays them out from the pool of money they collected from new investors. Because the investor gets their cash, they feel legitimate. They tell their friends, look, I actually made money. This creates a snowball effect of social proof. The inevitable collapse. A Ponzi scheme is like a balloon that can only be filled with so much air. It relies entirely on a constant flow of new money. The collapse happens when one of two things occurs. Either the run on the bank, when too many investors, perhaps due to an economic downturn or panic, ask for their money back at the same time, the fraudster can no longer pay and the house cards crumble. Or it can be the market ceiling. Eventually, the fraudster runs out of new people to recruit. Without new capital flowing in, they can't pay the existing investors, and the scheme dies under the weight of its own unfulfilled promises. Why do we fall for it? We like to think we're too smart to be scammed, but Ponzi schemes tap into deep-seated human psychology. It's not just about greed, it's about FOMO, or fear of missing out, and authority bias. When we see our neighbors or prominent community members investing, our skepticism lowers. We stop thinking about the investment and start thinking about the opportunity. How to protect yourself. The best defense is a healthy dose of professional skepticism. Here are three things you should always do. One being check the credentials. Don't just take their word for it. Is the investment registered with the SEC or your local financial regulatory body? Next would be understanding the how. If you can't explain how an investment makes money, in 2 sentences, don't put your money into it. If the strategy sounds too complex to understand, that's usually by design. Lastly, be aware of guaranteed returns. As the old saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, it almost certainly is. Bottom line, Ponzi schemes are a reminder that the loudest, most confident voice in the room isn't always the most honest one. Financial health is built slowly through diversification and due diligence, not through secret strategies that promise to make you rich overnight. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Stuff You Should Think About. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep your wallet safe. Till next time.